Hey there, fifth graders. You are flipping in fifth with me, Mrs. G. Today we're going to be talking about topic 9, lesson 2, and today's learning target is I can find the simplest form of a fraction. Maybe you already know how to find a simplest form of a fraction, and that's great because yes, you did learn that in fourth grade. And most of topic 9 is just a review of the things we did in fourth grade with fractions, so then we can begin working on multiplying and dividing them. Yay! Here are today's vocabulary words. The first one is simplest form. Remember, I want you to write these down and go ahead and pause the video so that you can make sure that everything is written in the left column of your paper. So simplest form. A fraction is in simplest form when the top and bottom cannot be any smaller while still being whole numbers. This is also called reducing fractions. Then we have the greatest common factor, and the greatest common factor divides two numbers. And then prime factor, a factor that is also a prime number, which can be divided evenly only by one or itself. Again, pause the video and write all of these down. Here are some notes for today. Today I'm going to teach you two different strategies to find simplest form. The first one you probably learned last year, and that's where we list all of the factors of the denominator and the numerator, then divide by the highest factor they have in common. Or you can use the wedding cake strategy to find simplest form. You just need to remember, simplify, make a cake. That's something I'm going to teach you today. You may not have known how to do this. The nice thing about the wedding cake strategy is if you miss a factor in the first strategy that you already know how to do, it doesn't totally ruin it for you. You can still get it figured out. So if you're still struggling a little bit with your multiplication and division facts, the wedding cake strategy might be for you. So here we're going to start off by finding the common factors strategy. So we're going to write the fraction 16/20 in simplest form. So here what we do is we have 16/20, and just like you learned last year, we need to come up with all of the factors for 16. And they are 1 times 16, 2 times 8, 4 times 4, 8 times 2, and 16 times 1. Those are all the factors that we have for 16. So now we're going to come up with the factors for 20, and we found these by knowing we could multiply 1 by 20, 2 by 10, 4 by 5, 5 by 4, 10 by 2, or 20 by 1. So we know we have all of the factors for each of those numbers. So this strategy tells us we need to find what is the greatest, in other words, what is the highest factor that both the numerator and the denominator have in common. In this case, it would be 4. So then what we do is we divide both the numerator and the denominator by 4, and that gives us 4/5. So the simplest fraction for 16/20 is 4/5. That works out great if you know all of the different factors for all of the numbers. This might help you if you don't know, or if it is a bigger number than you're used to working with, and I call it the wedding cake strategy. So here's how to write the fraction 16/20 in simplest form using the wedding cake strategy. Remember, simplify, make a cake. Here is our wedding cake, and it's a traditional cake, and what you'll notice is that the bottom, the base layer, is bigger, and it gets smaller and smaller as it goes all the way up, and then on top is the lovely bride and groom. That's how you're going to know you have the simplest fraction when you get to the bride and groom. So we're going to start off with our first layer, and we're going to write 16/20 in here. Now, all we need to know is what number goes into 16 and goes into 20. It doesn't have to be all of the numbers. We don't have to know all of the factors. We just have to have one. So I know, since they're both even numbers, that 2 will go into both. So 2 goes into 16 8 times, and 2 goes into 20 10 times. So now I'm going to see if I can simplify that even more by going up to our second layer of the cake. And again, I don't have to choose the greatest common factor. I just need to choose a factor. So I'm going to choose 2 again because, again, they're both even numbers, and that's going to give me 4/5. Well, I can still come up with one more thing to divide 4/5 by, and that's 1, because we can always divide anything by 1. Which gives us the same number. so 4/5. So here we are on top of our wedding cake. They're smooching. That's how we know we have simplified this fraction. Now you try. I want you to go ahead and give the wedding cake strategy a try. Here we have 42/48, and it might be difficult to go through or take you a long time to list all of the factors. So this is one of those times that the wedding cake strategy might actually help you. Go ahead and pause the video and see if you can remember how to use the wedding cake strategy and come up with the simplified fraction. Okay, coming back, did you get 7/8? Let me show you how I got that. Here we have our wedding cake again, and we're going to start in our bottom layer and write 42/48 in there. And we're going to think to ourselves, what can we divide 42 and 48 by? Well, we know that they're even numbers, so we can for sure divide them by 2. So that gives us 21/24. So we know that we still have a factor in common for each of these, and that would be 3. So if I divide 21 by 3, I get 7. If I divide 24 by 3, I get 8. So is there anything I can divide this by? Remember, when we do the wedding cake strategy, you can always divide it by 1 at the very end to make sure that you in fact have the most simplified fraction. In this case would be 7/8. It is on top of the wedding cake. So here are tonight's practice problems. I need you to write each of these fractions in simplest form. You can use either strategy that works best for you. Just be sure to show your work so that when your teacher meets with you tomorrow, that you can actually show them what you know. Go ahead and stop the video and then come back for the answers. Okay, coming back in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here are the answers for tonight's homework. Number 1 is 11/12. Number 2 is 2/3. Number 3 is 9/10. Number 4 is 2/5. And number 5 is 3/4. Before you go, make sure you've checked your work and you wrote down how many of the problems you got correct. Honestly, fill in that self-reflection. Could you teach a friend? Do you think you got it, or are you still confused? Either way, it's okay. And then fill in the space with any questions you still have. Hope you enjoyed simplifying fractions and learning all about the wedding cake strategy. We'll see you tomorrow.